Ullmark came in a really bad spot. Montgomery pulled Swayman aside right after he got pulled. He said he was terrific after the game. Where do you lie? Who do you want starting game 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. It wasn't Jeremy Swayman's fault. Half those goals. I mean, was it the tying goal, Lorenz? It's like he was left completely uncovered in front of Swayman.
Oh, yeah. It's like Jim
No,
Montgomery when Jim Montgomery pulled Swayman aside on the bench, it was like when Robin Williams pulled aside Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting. He's like, "It's not your fault, son. Son, it's not your fault. It's not your fault." Like it is.
so
And welcome into the Bruins Beat, presented by Prize Picks and Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS over at Prize Picks to get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. And go use the promo code CLNS at Game Time. You want to go to Game 3, Game 4, Game 6, maybe. You're thinking, hey, I want to go down to Florida, see Game 5. Maybe if there's Game 7, use that promo code CLNS at Game Time to get $20 off your first pair of tickets. Terms apply. I am here and joined by Belle Fraser. Belle, what's up?
hey, thanks for having me. Lot to talk about. What a game too.
That's the most eventful 6-1 game I think I have
I
seen
know.
in quite a while. I saw someone on Twitter, a Bruins fan, say something like, "That's the first time I've gone to bed with a smile on my face after a 6-1 loss." And
Yeah,
I want to start here with this because we can get into big picture series stuff in a bit. Complete gong show in the third period. Like just fights, hits, scrums, Pastrnak messing up with fighting with Tkachuk. And I'm 25. You're also very young. You're actually graduating college like in a week, which is crazy. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you're graduating college in a week. So, I'm more of the new school hockey mentality. I like skill. I like speed. I like, strategy. I don't like dumping the puck in. I assume you're similar in that sense. I loved how the Bruins approached the final half of that third period.
yeah,
Oh my God, did I love it. And I think they did it right. And again, would be singing a different tune if David Pastrnak came away with like a separated shoulder or like a broken hand or something. Obviously would be like, man, that was stupid. But that didn't happen. And
yeah,
to me, it starts with Pasternak's fight. And I know it didn't start there. There was a lot more. Frederick, the broadcast mentioned, turned around to his whole team, was like, we're going.
yeah,
I forget who, just quick shot on net, and then they immediately just went to it. But Pastrnak, I think it says a lot, and I said this on the postgame show last night, it says a lot when David Pastrnak, who that was his second career fight, he's a superstar, he makes a lot of money, he is not known for his fisticuffs at all. Tkachuk weirdly asks him to fight, and Pastrnak says, yeah, I'm fighting. I'm not going to just sit here and take it. And to me, I think that's a potential series-changing moment where when a guy like that is dropping the gloves, when a guy like that is willing to engage someone as physical and good a fighter as Matthew Tkachuk is, and as tough as Matthew Tkachuk is, it sends a message. I think it sends a real message, and I think the Bruins handled that second half of that third period, and they did not have a good game. They
yeah.
played like crap. I mean, I'm not like trying to sugarcoat that, but to me, I think they're going into game 3 with fire under them.
Yeah, I agree. I think they had to do that because of how poorly they played. Like your Pastrnak said at post game, he was like, it was 6-1, the game was over. Like, of course I had to do it. And I think when I was writing about the game, I was like, the Bruins showed literally zero resolve or momentum swings other than their bite and after the whistle scrums and being physical and kind of just mucking it up. And I think they had nothing left. I think game 1, you kind of see now, was maybe all adrenaline. Like those guys are spent.
Yeah.
They're exhausted. They've played however many games in the last 10
Brendan Carlo
games.
just had a kid.
Yeah. So I think it was the come down of that. And, before this game 2 started, I was like, all right, this is the Panthers game. Wasn't expecting it to be 6-1 or end the way it did. But I think that was, probably not the Bruins plan B if their plan A wasn't there, maybe plan D or E. But like, you have to show some sort of fight. And if it's not going to be with your actual hockey skill, let it be that like, okay, we're going to lose by 5. We stole one on the road and we're going to set the stage for game 3. Like we're lost by 5 goals, but we didn't go out quietly. And I think that's what you have to do in the playoffs. You have to cultivate some emotion from your bench in games like that. And I think now the guys are probably embarrassed, upset about the game, but they're fired up to go into game 3. Jeremy Swayman is always positive, but he's like, I'm so excited for Friday. and you don't expect anything else from him. But it's, again, yeah, the Bruins played terrible. There was not many bright spots, but you can take away from like, all right, game 3 is going to be a great game. They're not, as down as a team could be. That starts with Pastrnak. You love to see it. That shows the buy-in and the commitment that this team has, and I don't think they ever doubted it. But when you see it, literally on the ice like that, I think it's a good sign moving forward. But there were a lot of issues with the Bruins play. I don't know if we're going to get into that right now, but just like defensively, poor Swayman gets pulled, and it's not on him at all. But I think the Bruins saved themselves a bit with, sticking up for themselves and their teammates at the end there. But man, it was a tough 60 minutes.
That was a bad one, and it's funny because their first period was good. Game
Yeah.
2, I mean, they had chances. They score first. Coyle hits the post. Marchand kind of misses an open net, even though that was a weird angle. So I'm not going to fault him for that. And then you also look at 2-on-1 with Brazeau and Beecher, and you have those things, and it's like, man, if one of those had went in. But again, the Panthers turned it up in the second period. The Panthers look like a totally different team, and I think to me, one of the big takeaways of the game is when the Panthers are the better team, and I like they're only 1 point separated them in the standings. The Panthers are a better team. The question is, can the Bruins play to their identity? Can the Bruins put together an effort like they had in game 1, where they're really structured and they're opportunistic? And yes, they'll get outshot, but that's been them all year.
Yeah.
Can you sort of steal a few goals? Can you? And I think I mentioned this on the postgame show last night. Like Bobrovsky, didn't answer any of the questions I had about him after game 1 and game 2. Now, that's not his fault, really, because he didn't face many shots. I think he faced 16 shots. But, the Coyle shot that hit the post, that's an easy one you glove down.
Yeah.
And you just wonder, rebound control-wise, what's he going to be like in Boston now? And I know the Bruins are famous for not playing well in their own barn, which is unfortunate given the circumstances of what happened in game 2. But how's he going to deal with the crowd? Because it's a Friday night game. It's going to be packed. It's going to be loud. How is he going to deal with that? And I know obviously he's been outstanding this year. So again, the Bruins did themselves no favors. But I saw Mike Rupp had a Twitter video. I love those 2-minute Twitter videos where people kind of just get their takes off. But he had one about Pastrnak and how that fires up a team so much, as a guy like Mike Rupp was, who was a, bottom 6 role playing fighter, to see a guy like Pastrnak, who's paid the big bucks, who's not there to fight, who's not supposed to be in uncomfortable situations, for him to drop the gloves and go at it with Tkachuk, of all people. And to me, it also goes back to, I think, I wonder if the Panthers poked the bear a little bit. Brandon Montour celebrating it. I think they did, celebrating in Marchand's face, straight in the face. And then there were some other taunts I saw on Twitter. And then you obviously have Tkachuk challenging Pastrnak. That's a weird challenge. I know that they were kind of the captains representing.
Though it's that's what he does.
I know. And I wonder if in game 3, if guys like Frederick, Maroon, if Montgomery sends those guys on the ice to kind of be like, hey, Matthew, let's go. Come on. You want to fight Pastrnak? Okay, that's fine. But you got to fight me too. And see if he does it. I wonder if we see a little bit of that. Now, I don't think it's a winning strategy for the Bruins to go out and do this every game. 70 hits last night. They lost 6-1. I think that's a bad recipe. But I think for the circumstances, I know. Isn't that great? And I said this to Carl Corzini last night. Typically the team that has the puck less has more hits because you're trying to get the puck back. And that's why the Bruins had 70 hits. The Panthers had the puck for a lot of that game and still had 76 hits. That is freaking crazy. But you can't win like that. I don't think if you're the Bruins. I think you have to stick to a different game plan. And to me, it starts with, you got to break the puck out.
Yeah.
That's been a problem.
No, it's been painful to watch. And going back to Coyle, it was funny. He scored. And when I was on 2 weeks ago, we talked about once you get the top 6 contributions going, the Bruins depth is already there. It's going to be great. And I was watching the Bruins make it through the first round without, Pavel Zacha and Charlie Coyle having outstanding series. It was okay, once those two guys really get going, then the Bruins are a whole nother level. And so Coyle scores with Zacha getting his 3rd assist in 2 games in the first period. And I was oh, here we go. The top 6 is clicking. Charlie Coyle's shooting.
Yeah.
And you kind of felt it could be a turning point for them just in terms of extending leads and following up the first period with a good second. Obviously, that did not happen. But I think your point about guys like Frederick and Maroon and stuff, I was actually going to say the same thing, Evan, that I think those guys are probably dying to get out there for game 3 because, of course, you love watching Pastrnak fight, but they're probably like, I don't want Pasta to have to fight for us, like that is
I
their
think
moment.
everybody was holding their breath the minute Bob
Yeah.
Wischusen was like, Matthew Tkachuk and David Pastrnak are in a real fight. And the camera cut to them late. But I don't know if you saw the bench camera, but like Pastrnak stepped on the ice, 1 foot down, and the gloves were off. And I'm like, this is like a fever dream. Like, what
Yeah,
is this? It's like opposite day. What is going on?
I
So
know.
yeah, they must have been excited, but also nervous.
Yeah, so I think it pumps those guys up, and not to say I think Maroon and Frederick and Brazeau, they've looked good, but I think it will add another level to their game where it's like, if this is how this series is going to go, we obviously have to do it in a controlled manner, but we have to, like I said, elevate a little bit. So I think that'll be interesting to see how those guys come out in game 3. But yeah, who knows? Like Montgomery said post game, he doesn't think things are going to carry over into the next game, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you. I think they definitely will. And like 12 game misconducts in the third period. I mean, it was insane. When it was the power play and there was like 7 guys on the Bruins bench, it was like, so what are we even doing?
I saw there was I forget which the Panthers had that shorthanded goal. I stopped keeping track of the goals after the
Shorthanded
phone
goal,
call.
I was
It's
like,
like
oh man.
yeah, it's like I just at this game the game's over at this point. But
Yeah.
like McAvoy, instead of defending the puck carrier, just went and tried to like take someone out who was
Mhm.
driving the net. I was like, that's what this game is hit at this point. So to me, like I do wonder though if the Panthers poke the bear. And the other my subsequent question would be like, are the Bruins good enough to overpower the Panthers? And I think
Mhm.
like, if game 2 happened in game 1 and game 1 happened in game 2, we would be sitting here being like, wow, the Bruins have completely reshaped the
Yeah.
series. So like we know the Bruins have it in them. Like I think game 1 was a perfect example of how you can win structured hockey, good defense. You have the occasional turnover, but you defend the house well and all that stuff. But you didn't see that in game 2, and I think some of that also chalks up to they were gassed. They
Yeah.
looked gassed. They were a step behind. It's been a wild 5 days. You expected somewhat of a letdown, so I don't think that's indicative of the series. I don't think, oh my God, the Panthers figured it out. They're going to be, running wild on the Bruins here. So I think there's a lot to look into for game 3 and 4. But first, a quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks.
Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks is so easy to play. I can make my Celtic picks and make my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals and easy gameplay and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Celtics and NBA fans, you can get in on Prize Picks in 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. On Prize Picks this week, I'm selecting Jason Tatum to dish out more than 5 assists and his teammate Jaylen Brown to have more than 22.5 points. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks.
Quick moment of silence. Pretty crazy news. Conor Ryan is stuck in Carolina right now, North Carolina, and his flight has been delayed a
Oh,
couple of hours. He will not land until Thursday night. It was supposed to be much earlier.
is
So
there
pour
Dunkin'
one out.
in the airport?
Pour one out. What was that?
Is there Dunkin' in the airport?
I would hope. I would think. He's at some lounge, but he's been there since like 9 a.m. So he's spending the whole day there. So pour one out if anyone's drinking anything. If you have a Dunk's coffee right now and you're like driving, just pour it out the window
For Connor.
for Connor. For Connor. So the goaltending question has come back up, which is always fun. I always like on the post game show, I'll say, all right, we got to talk goaltending, and it'll like all of a sudden like 7 different comments like, no, please, no, I don't want to do this. But Swayman did get pulled. Ullmark came in. Ullmark came in a really bad spot. Montgomery pulled Swayman aside right after he got pulled. He said he was terrific after the game. Where do you lie? Who do you want starting game 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. It wasn't Jeremy Swayman's fault. half those goals. I mean, was it the tying goal, Lorenz? It was like he was left completely uncovered in front of Swayman.
Oh, yeah. It's like Jim
Zero.
Montgomery when Jim Montgomery pulled Swayman aside on the bench, it was like when Robin Williams pulled aside Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting. It's like, it's not your fault, son. Son, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Like
So it's
Jeremy
like,
Swayman's like, don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with me right now.
but
So that was that conversation. I heard it myself.
yeah, I literally, if they were wired up, I'm sure that's what they said. Like, it was
Word
almost
for word.
laughable, the lapses in coverage that the Bruins had. And obviously, it was a miscommunication on that one. It looked like forward thought Swayman was going to swing the puck over along the boards. He didn't, whatever. But it's just like, I don't think that's a concerning game for Jeremy Swayman. And I think, too, Monty said he was looking to pull him after the Panthers made it 3-1 and then they made it 4-1, so he pulled him. I don't know if Montgomery just had a feel for the game in the bench and kind of knew the guys weren't going to come back from 2 or 3 goals and thought, let's rest Swayman. Let's give him a mental break and kind of get him out of there so this doesn't go 7-1. He's thinking about the 7 goals he let up. I also think if you go with Swayman again, it's kind of nice that even though Ullmark did let into, only played for a period or so, he played. And I think that was one of the worrying things when going into game 1. I mean, everyone thought it should be Swayman. I agree. But Ullmark hasn't played in over 2 weeks. And so here you kind of rest Swayman, you kind of get him off the hook, and then you also get the rust off Ullmark if he was to start in game 3. But I don't know. I think Swayman's just been too good to go back to Ullmark. And again, Ullmark was thrown into a really not favorable situation, but you saw that. And I think throwing him in for a full game wouldn't be the solution to this. And it would be another story if, Charlie McAvoy had a good game. If Brandon Carlo, wasn't beat off the puck behind the net, so uncharacteristic by him.
I know.
Those things. If the defense was there and Swayman was letting in those goals, all right, maybe the workload's getting to him. Maybe you go to Ullmark. But it's like the Bruins back end played one of their worst games in the past month. Like it was, and McAvoy, I will say, like he got back on that 2-on-1 and he made some good plays, but it's like those guys weren't the players you needed them to be, and it let Swayman down. And it's not only defense; it's a full team, effort on forecheck, backcheck, neutral zone, which they did not command at all. So I just, yeah, I don't think you can put it on Swayman. I think he'll be ready to go Friday. And Montgomery said he didn't think the workload was wearing on Swayman; he just wanted to get him out of there. So if that's true, I mean, it's the first time in 6 games that Swayman gave up 3 goals. It's like, I don't know. It wasn't as much as a goaltending disaster as I think if you see the clip of Swayman getting pulled and everyone's freaking out and it's like the goalie rotation is back, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it has that much drama to it.
I was so adamant all season. I want to see the goalie rotation in the playoffs. I want to see the goalie rotation in the playoffs. I did not know that Jeremy Swayman was going to be the best goalie in the playoffs through the first, 8 games. You go to Swayman in game 3. It's not a hard decision. It's Swayman. I mean, and again, I think if he has a bad game in game 3, you reevaluate from there and say, all right, maybe we do have to look at Ullmark. But Swayman's playing too good, and you can't. It would be such a blow to his confidence if he literally won you the Toronto series.
Yeah.
So he wins you that, has an outstanding game 1, and then the team just has a complete letdown in front of him, and it's like, all right, well, sorry, buddy, Ullmark's going in. To me, that's not how you do it, and I think they are going to start Swayman. I mean, you look at talking to him on the bench, what Montgomery said after the game, the comments, and the goals weren't his fault. I mean, the first goal was a turnover because they keep forcing it strong side up the glass. I don't get why they don't go more weak side. Forbert, that was what Forbert anticipated. Maybe Forbert's been seeing what we've all been seeing from the 9th floor of like, hey, just, it's a little less congested over on this side of the ice.
Yeah.
Second goal was McAvoy didn't have a stick. Third goal, McAvoy was standing like
Even the McAvoy not having his stick, it's like, be physical, shove him out of the crease. Like, what are you? Sorry.
And the other thing, and
it's like you don't
Yeah.
need a stick to defend. You do, but not.
Well, to me, that play started when McAvoy, there was a battle right after he lost the stick. He could have went and picked the stick up because
Right.
it wasn't broken, right? If it was broken, it's one thing. Or you have a forward hand you a stick because a stick in front of the net does help a lot.
Yeah.
And that's basically how Barkov scored that goal, was just McAvoy could not contest it at all. I think McAvoy is an interesting case in and of itself. Like, is there an injury there? Is something going on? Because he seems to be fighting the puck a little bit, and we talked about it a little bit last night. He's such a he's tasked with such a shutdown role that sometimes, when you get the puck, it's a little weird. You're like, all right, like, well, what the hell do I do with this? But this is a number one defense in the NHL, top 10 D in the NHL, like, and it's just there are some mental mistakes there, and there's some just issues that I think he needs a big moment. He needs, whether it's a hit, a good solid defensive game, like the type that Conor Ryan will tweet out, where it's like McAvoy was like a 76% Corsi for percentage, and he had 5 block shots and 2 assists and 8 shots on net, and like he needs one of those games.
And I do think
bad
that's coming. Like, I do not think Charlie McAvoy is a guy that kind of just like is like, all right, I'm not playing well, like, oops.
No, I don't think he is either.
It very personally, and he's had so much more responsibility this year on and off the ice. So yeah, it was a bad game, but I do expect him to respond. It's just you hope he does it sooner rather than later, because they need him. They need Charlie McAvoy to be himself. Especially you saw it on those goals too. But with Swayman, going back to that, I feel like his mental makeup makes you confident to put him into game 3 as well. I mean, I don't know if it's an act or if he's just really well media trained, but his comments after every game, win or lose, it's just like he's so stable and he's so confident in himself and the guys in that room. The first thing he says, no matter what, is like, we have a lot of believability in here. I know the guys are going to respond. I feel great. I'm like so blessed to be in this moment. I love this opportunity. And it's like, yeah, that's what the media and fans like to hear. It's a great story. You love it when your goaltender isn't rattled. But I think it's true. Like, you see him during the games, during the scrums, he's laughing, he's skating away, he's singing to the songs during like TV commercial breaks. And I think that should make Montgomery and the team feel good. Not that they haven't been, but like, this guy is locked in and he feels good, and he's not going to let 45 minutes of game 2 kind of throw his game off. So I think that's another plus side of really Swayman and Ullmark. It's just how strong they are mentally, not just their play on the ice.
100%. And I think you're seeing that. And I think with Swayman, you want to see that out of him. And I don't think it's an act. Like, I don't think that, and I don't even think that's media training. I think that is like genuinely him.
It's so like, how are you this positive?
He's so positive and he's so chill.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's an element where you want that. Goalies are typically freaks. They're insane. He's just like, it's almost like if you put a fan in an NHL game and they're like, whoa,
yeah,
this is crazy. Like, it's him, and it works because he's good and he's smart, and when he covers the puck up, he gets right out of the crease, so he can't, guys like Tkachuk and them can't run into him, even though they did it on the first shift. I want to get into the rest of the series. Where do we think the Bruins are? But first, a quick word from Game Time. Quick break to tell you about my good friends over at Game Time. I am very excited about the NBA playoffs, and what's awesome is here in Boston, TD Garden is the best atmosphere for a playoff game. Thankfully, we have Game Time, which is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Maybe it's the NBA playoffs or it's the NHL playoffs. The same is true with the Bruins. TD Garden gets so fun during this time of year, and you want to be there. The Bruins and Celtics are in pursuit of championships, and as the rounds go on, the crowd gets better and better. Nothing beats it. And with Game Time, there's last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. There's flash deals. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. And there are zone deals. Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. Again, take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets and head over to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code, again, CLNS. I can't be more clear about that. Use code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Now, back to the show. So, as we speak, Jim Montgomery is speaking at Hanscom, and he mentioned that peak is getting closer. They'll know more tomorrow, and Heinen is still day to day. The Bruins will not be staying in a hotel tonight. Montgomery said they've been away from their families for a while, and they want guys to have a night at home. That's a Scott McLaughlin tweet. So, thank you, Scott.
Also saw that he said no decision on goaltending, but Swayman will be ready to go if called upon.
Yeah, I think it's Swayman. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if they bring out Ullmark.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting going into the series. Like I had Panthers in 7. I still think this is going to be a really tight series. I think there are gonna be some doozy games like last night. I also think there'll be some really close games. I just think these teams are close. I think the Panthers are a little bit better. I think the Panthers can turn it on more at times, but I don't think my view on the series has shifted too much after the first 2 games. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of the funny thing about playoffs and the beautiful thing about sports and the frustrating thing if you're a fan watching it is just how different 2 games can be. It can look like 2 completely different teams night in and night out, but I think that's what is good about it too. Like the Bruins have the blueprint. They know how to beat Florida. They did it all regular season. They played them really well in game 1, and I don't think that goes out the window, just because it kind of spiraled in game 2.
A little bit.
Just a little. But I also think I was watching the game last night and I was like, if Florida's power play starts to click, the Bruins are in trouble. I mean, Bruins penalty kill has been great. It was like 5 for 5, 6 for 6 through 2 games at a certain point, and then Panthers finally broke through, but it was 6-1 last night. It could have been 8-1 if the Panthers, and they came close on a couple ones there. So I think that's something to be cognizant about is that, yes, it's great the Bruins have had a great penalty kill, but the Panthers aren't going to be held scoreless on the power play the whole series. And I don't know, I think I saw the stat on ESPN last night that they were 0-14 against the Bruins on the power play, including regular season, which is great. But I just think that's going to falter at some point. And we don't need to talk about discipline because, like we said, we both agree it was the Bruins had to get those game misconducts. They had to get in those fights. But
Yeah.
I think the penalties at the beginning of the game, they were stick penalties too, like looking back at that DeBrusque one, it was just kind of things that if that team gets going on the man advantage, it's going to cost you games early on. And they were really lucky that Florida didn't extend the lead until later on in the game. It could have been a lot worse. So I think that's definitely something to look out for, just special teams. And they played such a big role in when the Bruins had success against Toronto. In the first 3 games, they had 6 power play goals. So it's kind of the last thing you're thinking about right now with everything that happened in game 2. But it was just something that I noticed. Like it's been quiet because the Bruins have been able to handle it. But if that slips, you can't give them that much space and an opportunity so early on in the game to extend a lead.
I mean, with guys like Montour, Tkachuk, Verhaeghe, Barkov, like that, if that dam breaks, it's going to break. And I think you look at how well they move the puck. And again, the Bruins did a good job in the first 2 games, I thought, on the PK. But like, that is an interesting point of like, if that starts to click, the Bruins are in a little bit of trouble. To me,
power play needs to start clicking too. Montgomery switched back to the original top unit, which it's all your top personnel, but has that worked in the past month? No.
No.
Barely.
And Pastrnak, again, you just can't. You cannot get you can't buy a power play goal right now. Yeah. I also think for the Bruins, for them, if they want to keep the series close, they want to win this series, you've got to get the puck out cleaner. And I don't know, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the coaches are telling the D of where to put it, but the flips up the glass, and I just, you're trying to force it strong side, and I think that continues to be an issue. And obviously, I know the Panthers have to corral the puck and bring it to the middle, but you're having some issues right now. And what's funny is the Panthers defense are coughing up pucks.
Yeah.
Ekblad has been a turnover machine through the first 2 games. And it's, to me, like, that's how you're going to get some goals. You're going to force them to turn the puck over. You're going to get in deep and, approach the blue line with speed, dump and chase, and, try to win some puck battles. But also I think like an area that the Bruins can expose is the Panthers play man defense.
Yeah.
Like just win if one guy wins his battle,
yep.
it completely throws everything off. And so I think and you saw that in game 1. And I think the reason you didn't see that much in game 2 was because they didn't have enough zone time because they couldn't get the puck up the ice. They kept turning it over. So I think if they can clean that up, and I think a lot of that goes back to they were gassed. As I said
Yeah.
earlier, they were gassed. And so I think get home, get a day to chill. Game on Friday. I know it's still, every other night, but a little bit more rest, you're back home, I think can do some wonders. So I don't view the series any differently than I did a couple days ago.
Yeah, and I also think with the breakouts too, they're able to make those adjustments, and I think it does not to the Bruins played bad. I'm not trying to give them excuses. But they just in terms of being outworked and just gassed, you think about game 1 when Montgomery called that really timely timeout at the beginning of the third, and he talked about it post game. He's like, we looked panicked with the puck. We couldn't break it
Yep.
out. Guys were frantic, I think is what he said. And he was like, I needed to call the timeout so we could relax. We could remember how we have success. And, Justin Brazeau goes and scores a minute after that timeout. So I think that's promising. We're like, when the Bruins are not full health, but full juice, I don't know what you want to call it. They know.
Juiced up. They're
Juiced
juiced
up.
up. That's the word.
They can recognize it. It's not like they've forgotten how to do it. I just think maybe it's a mix of exhaustion and then just, I don't know if panic's the right word, but it's like you don't need to be that urgent to just like whack it out of the zone. Like take a second, and maybe that does come with like I can't feel my legs right now. Like I just need to get this puck out. But
Yeah, it
I
can.
think it is promising that like Montgomery realizes when that's happening and he's able to kind of get his group back together. And he's always good at that, making on the fly adjustments and sending messages down the bench. So I think you just hope once the Bruins recollect themselves, they just get back to how they played in game 1. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think the like alarm bells are going off because I think you made a good point. If you switched game 1 and game 2, Bruins fans would be feeling pretty good about where the team was at. And I think I would take coming back to TD Garden tied 1-1 in the series, second round against the Panthers any day. So without any context, I think you have to feel good about it. If you didn't, you're like, okay, 1-1, we have 2 games on home ice where we just had an electric game 7. The fans are going to be excited to be there. So I definitely don't think it's panic mode, but I do think game 3, if it's not, I think game 3 should be like 4-3, 2-3 game. But if it's another blowout, I think that's when you start to worry.
Yeah. To me, I like the more I think about it, and obviously they didn't play well in game 2. I'm not panicked at all because you took one in Florida, right?
Yeah.
That was the big thing. You got one out of Florida. Pastrnak mentioned after the game they stole a win, even though they played great.
Yeah.
But the other thing is the way the game 2 ended. Guys fighting, guys dropping the gloves, showing that, that they're setting the tone for game 3. To me, that's what you want to see. And that's why I'm not worried for them. There's no pressure on them because everyone predicts the Panthers are going to win this series. So like, I think, if the Bruins play admirably, I don't think people are going to be ripping them. And I don't think I don't think they care whether people rip them or not, but just in general, but the way they fought and the way they stood up for each other, I haven't seen that in a long time from a Bruins team. And I think that's big.
It's playoffs. Like coming
It
from
is.
someone who isn't, I mean, I like the Bruins because I cover them, but I didn't grow up a Bruins fan. So
This is true.
I feel like I have a little less stake in it, but like it's a great series. Like this is what it's all about, And obviously there's the emotions of wanting your team to win and whatever, but like this is what playoff hockey is about. It's about like the swings of game 1 and game 2, the physicality, and like it makes it interesting. Not to out I'm a Rangers fan, and like this playoff
What?
But like the playoffs have been fun, and I don't want to jinx them because I keep winning, but like, and the Carolina series has been interesting, but the Bruins Panthers, it's like this is what like fuels NHL fandom. This is what gets new fans in, and I think it's what everyone craves in the postseason, like the drama of it all. So I think it's great. I hope the Bruins are able to sizzle down a little bit and just play direct, simple, good hockey while still kind of feeding into the craziness of the series. But I don't know. I just think it's awesome. It's not a very big point for me, but I just think it's great. I think, and it sets the stage for really a fun 2 games at TD Garden too.
It's great. No one likes sweeps. This is physical. You got real villains, right? Panthers fans hate Marchand and Maroon, and Bruins fans hate Matthew Tkachuk. Like, this is what you want, and these teams don't like each other, and it's good, because typically my whole life, teams from Florida, the Panthers, have been boring as hell, and this team isn't. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of guys that you want to get invested in. You either love or you hate. I like it. I like this series. I still have the Panthers winning, but you know what? I think you're going to see a lot of with the Bruins, and if they win it, then I will happily be incorrect. I'll happily be wrong.
I was gonna say too, just with Marchand and Montour and all of that, it was funny. Montour like pretended to lick Marchand and stuck his tongue out, and Ryan Callahan like had to call the play-by-play by it, and I was like, this is so bizarre. And you could hear him; he just like stopped talking when it happened, because he was like, I'm not.
He had like a flashback. He just like sees Marchand's
like,
tongue.
Oh, and Montour sticking his tongue out.
Like, what could he be referring to? I wouldn't know. I would have no idea.
Like, what are the odds that Ryan Callahan's on the call? It was just like hilarious.
I love when Callahan has to talk about Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
It's just so like, oh, here's this guy who you had so many battles against. He licked your face.
Yeah.
Like, you're notorious for this. So it's funny to hear him on that broadcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know what? I can't be mad at those first two games. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't think you can. And I know obviously it was a bad game 2, but I think there's more to like than there was to dislike in Florida. And that's not me with my black and gold glasses on. I think that's just the truth. Yeah. I do. Speaking of the truth, over at the Hockey News, what can the people look forward to from you over there?
I was like, where's he going with this?
You're speaking of the truth. What do you say about these? What do you say about these allegations? What do you say about them?
I was like, whoa. No, Hockey News. Yeah. Recaps, previews, features, opinion articles, the whole thing. Bruins coverage. And then you can follow me on Twitter at Belle Fraser 1. We're at practice, games, obviously, quotes, etc. So yeah, that's all on the Hockey News Bruins site specifically.
And in 1 week, you'll be in the real world. Wow.
Yeah.
Bills to pay and obligations and work. Yeah. It's just so much fun. It's so much fun being an adult.
I need the Bruins to keep winning just to distract myself from the existential dread of adulthood.
Oh, it doesn't go away. It's always there. Well, congratulations on graduating.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's been this week's Bruins Beat. Remember to go use that promo code CLNS at Prize Picks and CLNS over at Game Time. Belle Fraser, Evan Marinofsky, Bruins Beat listeners, have a great rest of your week.